I must admit, there's not that much to add to that. I think that the single is the best thing on the album, definitely. I love her voice as, I mean, it's great to get you, I mean, it's so melancholy, and it's just so vulnerable that it's a beautiful voice in that way, but for a whole album it does drag on a bit, you know, and it actually starts to take away from the songs, because individually you can appreciate them a lot better, and they are very good songs, or 4 or 5 on the album anyway, but as an album it starts to, you know, to wash a bit.
Yeah, but she's become something of a cult figure there, hasn't she?
Yeah,
singing with the Marine Girls and with the Style Council and all that. But,
yeah, she's becoming a little bit more accessible. I think probably, I don't know, it just seems to be a coincidence they've just signed to WEA, but it does seem a lot more accessible than before. I think it's nowhere near as good as Plain Sailing, which is my favourite track of hers, but still a good album. Morris, in a way, they do care about their image and their fashion, because the music shows that. It is all of a certain type, and it just has that jazz influence. But it justifies it, I think, because the atmosphere is so good.
Thank you. What would you recommend?
I don't know how to review this without being incredibly unkind to everybody involved, actually. Be
incredibly unkind in that case.
Be incredibly unkind. Well, actually, my video machine chewed the tape up after about 15 minutes, so I've only got 15 minutes to go on here, right? But, I mean, basically, I think, like, it's quite a long time since Buffalo Girls came out, and I think soon after Buffalo Girls, all the amazing things you're ever going to see about breakdancing had been seen. And since then, like, people have had their necks broken, like, twisting on their heads and everything. I think it's all become very boring. But the thing is, because America's such a big place, American finance has suddenly caught up with breakdancing, and there's the money to put into films like this. It's just atrocious, really. What I saw of it was atrocious, but I only saw 15 minutes. So I think that's about enough from me.
It's got a happy ending.
Has it got a happy ending?
Yeah.
Well, surprise, surprise. Also, I think it's very much like the token, you know, white girl in the I mean, it's like, let's get all markets, let's get a white girl learning how to break dance and everything.
It's certainly the sort of film we could have made in the curious. Well, George, I wouldn't imagine you as a Joy Division fan. Maybe I'm wrong.
You might be wrong.
I might be wrong.
The book just became incredibly suspect for me the minute I saw...
you do like them? I mean,
I do like them, yeah. It became very suspect when I saw that it was partially... well, a lot of the contributions were from a gentleman called Paul Morley. And
you don't approve of Mr. Morley?
You'd need a book a lot thicker than that just to list that man's ideas or hang-ups, whatever you like to call it. But it became very, very pretentious in so many areas that I actually didn't finish it. I didn't get anywhere near finishing it. And I actually really liked Joy Division, or particularly their second album.
What? Closer?
Closer. I thought Closer, the second side of Closer, is one of my favourite albums. It's just beautiful. I mean, like, musically...
24 Hours, sounds like...
I can't remember. There was The Eternal and... yeah, 24 Hours. There's just 4 tracks, which I don't even know the listing of, but they're just beautiful musically. I didn't actually see it. I thought their image, all the way through liking them, I thought their image was pretentious and contrived, and it did have very fascist elements to it. But I thought the music was great. I thought it was quite good the way they didn't harp on about the death, because that was like, I thought that was almost like it could almost have been engineered. It was like awful. It was the way that they were elevated after Ian Curtis's death was really sick. But it was... to
make it a commercial book, that's what people want to know.
Yeah, I mean, no, to be honest with you, I think that is a book for people who enjoy the idea of factory.
The pictures weren't very good either,
sorry, but to stop you there. Yeah. And an ideal for living.
For a lot of the famous Atlantic records, i.e. Aretha Franklin, Percy Sledge, Ray Charles. I mean, I actually had to sing in the same booth that they sang in, and actually to the same producer that they sang to. So if I sound nervous, I simply understand why. But I mean, I actually absolutely love Aretha Franklin. I honestly was expecting to get an Aretha Franklin tape when I heard that there were some Atlantic reissues. I didn't, and I was I must actually admit that I was very disappointed with what I got, because although some of the voices are fabulous, the material just isn't there as far as what I like, which is, I mean, like Say a Little Prayer is like my favourite record of all time, because it's a marvellous voice and a magnificent song together. To be honest with you, I didn't hear any songs that approached anything like Magnificent there, so I didn't find them terribly listenable at all. I mean, I loved a lot of the Atlantic record stuff, but just not what I was given here.
It was lack of songs, wasn't it, actually?
Lack of songs, yeah. I mean, you need a great
good
song to make a great singer sound fantastic.
Yeah, the singers were lovely, but just the melodies weren't there.
Yeah.
Morrissey?
I found it really quite impossible.
Company to actually pull it out.
Yeah, I don't understand why they've actually chosen to release these particular ones. I suppose there's fanatics that will buy any Atlantic material, but, you know, it's just not of any calibre, really.
So many fabulous records coming out nowadays.